Okay, so we are now streaming to YouTube. We're about to stream to Periscope. All right, preview broadcast. And then this is EduMatch, tweet and talk 94, tech integration. And we will go live. All right, so it's 6 o'clock. So we're about to do this. So here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to EduMatch. Follow along with us using the hashtag EduMatch on Twitter. You could also watch on our YouTube Live, as well as on our Periscope. So speaking of EduMatch, then did you know that you could be the featured person of the day? Yeah, it might take a little while, but good things come to those who wait. So as you wait, then you'll get tagged with potential matches who match your interests. In addition, if your blog has an RSS feed, then we will automatically retweet your blog post to our network of, I don't even know how many people now, probably 23,000, I believe. So good stuff, good stuff. So just wanted to give a huge shout out to everyone who is joining us for EdCamp EduMatch yesterday. Had a great time, lots of learning, lots of great conversations. So really, really cool times. Just wanted to give a shout out to Ed Squad, which is a new project that is loosely affiliated with EduMatch, but pretty much it is just keeping you up to date on free professional learning opportunities that you can do PD in your PJs. So check out edsquad.org, or I'm sorry, theedsquad.org. All right, so tonight's topic, we are going to be talking about tech usage versus integration, and we have an amazing panel of people here with us that we are going to introduce in just a second. Just wanted to really quickly give a shout out because this is actually a continuation. We did this, we did tech integration probably back in 2016 at some point. So I wanted to give a huge shout out to everyone who was on panel at that time. So we also have a Flipgrid where you can weigh in. So just check Twitter. You'll see the link popping around for the Flipgrid where you can weigh in about your experiences using tech integration. So without any further ado, then we are going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. So I'm going to pass the mic first over to Lizette.
Hey everybody, my name is Lizette. I am a third year ESL teacher in the Garden State of New Jersey, and I am excited for our panel today as we discuss a little bit more about technology integration versus technology use from an ESL teacher's point of view.
Awesome. So glad to have you here. So welcome, Lizette. Also on panel for first time, we have Bonnie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bonnie Rasler. I am a fourth grade educator from Prince George's County, Maryland. Represent. Technology use versus technology integration is something that's near and dear to my heart. So I'm really excited to share my thoughts as well as hear everyone else's ideas and gain some more resources relating to the topic.
Awesomeness. So glad to have you here. And welcoming back Dean.
Hey, everybody. My name is Dean Gainey from the Sunshine State of Florida, where it is bright and sunny today and no rain. Hallelujah. And so I teach ELA primarily to grades 4 and 5, but I also teach a technology class and a gifted class for students in 4th and 5th grade. So I'm excited because I know that technology is where we are. It's what we do. It's our world we live in. So it is definitely an important thing to discuss. So I'm excited to be here tonight as well.
That is awesome. And we are super excited to have you. So welcome. And then next we have Leslie.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. I had to try 3 devices before I found one that worked. I am Leslie Fagan. I am an instructional tech coach for all of the secondary schools in our district, as well as a few other special population types like our Gifted Enrichment Center, our Psychoeducational Center, and on Wednesday, we will be opening up our brand spanking new College and Career Academy. So I'm super excited about being the person to provide tech support for them. So that's pretty much what I do.
That is awesome. And I have to give you a huge shout out because you are newly certified as a Google innovator, Google certified innovator. So woo, woo, yay for the Faginator.
Yeah, seriously. I have my certificate. It doesn't go far from me. Okay, because I'm that excited about this.
Oh, wow. That is awesome and very, very much deserved. So congratulations to you. And
Thank
I believe,
you.
Oh, yeah, it's a pleasure. And I believe that we also have, is that Rochelle who is with us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
It is Rochelle. I'm glad you can hear me. So I'm Rochelle. I'm from Pittsburgh. Unlike Dean's current weather situation, it is raining in Pittsburgh. I teach high school Spanish and a STEAM course in technology. And that's my story for right now anyway.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And congratulations to you as well for all of your amazing just summer. Like I don't even know how to describe it, but I just saw a video of you at EdMotoCon just doing your thing. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
All right, very welcome. All right. So we're going to go ahead and jump in on the questions. So we have 3 questions tonight. Before we get started, then just wanted to give a huge shout out to Susie, who is chatting with us on YouTube Live. So shout out to Susie. And in a second, I'll go and check Twitter. But if you're also on Periscope, feel free to leave comments. I think I should be able to see them on this end. We'll see if it works. But all right. So the very first question, we're going to actually drill down into this whole technology integration thing. So what does it mean to you? And how is it different, if it is different, from technology usage? So would anyone like to jump in on that very first question? All right, Bonnie, I see you unmuted.
I'm ready. I think that technology usage is something that educators, when we're first kind of dipping our toes into educational technology, you start with more just basic usage, being comfortable with using technology when you're teaching, having students, even the basics of logging onto computers. And then I know when I started, it tended to be games. Here's a game on a math skill. Here's some reading comprehension questions. And then over the past few years, I've really seen a transformation in what I'm doing in my classroom, where I'm truly integrating. And when we think about integration with anything, it's really about meshing those parts together. So instead of using it as just like the icing on the cake, this is an ingredient that I'm putting into the cake and it's getting mixed in. And we really want to make it a part of the day and a part of what our students expect when they come into the classroom. Something that a quote that I've heard that has really stuck out to me, Dr. David Thornburg said, when you're thinking about using technology in your classroom, are you doing things differently or are you doing different things? So I really try to get into doing different things, like not just, doing the same thing where students would write a paper and then type a paper. You haven't changed anything. Your outcomes for students haven't changed. But when we're getting into like app smashing or Web 2.0 tools and using those with what you do in your classroom, not only are your students going to be working towards the standards in the curriculum, but they're also going to be developing the 21st century skills that are going to be critical for their success as we move on, as they move on really into college and their professional careers.
Absolutely. So that relevance, that authenticity, absolutely. I'm digging it. Cool. Let's go next to Lizette.
Well, Bonnie, I agree wholeheartedly with what you mentioned, but on the flip side, I just believe technology integration is kind of like what you said, ultimately putting it, using technology tools, a variety of technology tools across content areas to enhance and deliver the content in an innovative way, that may not necessarily work with just paper, pencil, or textbooks. It's this idea of being able to provide different avenues while accommodating different learners based on their way of learning. So I just say that ultimately there's not much of a difference between technology integration and technology use. I just believe that the consistency factor is much important when it comes to using any kind of technology. It shouldn't just be something because, our administration told us to do it. It should be something that we ultimately want to do because we recognize the needs that are within our classroom according to the learners that we have.
Absolutely. So knowing our students and knowing how to best support them with technology. Okay, great. All right. So we'll go next to Leslie, and then I see that Dean unmuted. So we'll go to you next, Dean, and then Rochelle.
Okay, I think I'm kind of a little with Bonnie and a little with Lizette. I'm one of those kinds of people that I'm going to use technology pretty much just for the sake of using it because it makes it more fun. But I also look at it with our students. If they are genuinely learning how to do something differently, then I think that's where we have crossed over from just using technology to technology integration. We want our students to learn how to think beyond what's just put out there in front of them. I'll admit I went to school in the 80s, and my foster son doesn't believe that we didn't have cell phones. He's like, well, did you have flip phones? No, sweetie. We did not have flip phones. We did not have cell phones. We did not have computers. They don't know that world. But now when you're talking to them about being able to talk to people all over the world, because I told them what I was doing. I said, I'm getting ready to have a conversation with people, and I don't know where they are, but I'm doing it from my bedroom. So he sees the possibilities. That's tech integration. I'm not having to get in my car and drive to meet up with all of these people. So our kids can do that. And when I look at the things that I can train my teachers to do, that to me is where we're making the real difference. If a child, and I'm not a math person, but if a child can figure out how to build a device that's going to help them learn the math, that's tech integration. Using the calculator on the computer, that's just simply tech use. So we've got to figure out how to marry the tech use with the tech integration, or we're going to continue to have the administrators who don't see the value in what we do. Because I've had some administrators who say, I don't need your help. My teachers know how to use Google Docs. Tech integration is way more than just being able to use the word processing program that's provided by Google.
Good point. Good point. So definitely going into that, transforming what we do with students. So absolutely. All right. And Dean, how about you?
Leslie, let me say that I appreciate your comments about technology use versus integration. I believe that there needs to be those building blocks of tech use. I recently learned that there are students at my own school that the basic ideas they don't necessarily have. They haven't learned the basic ideas about a computer or about a piece of technology. And so I believe that it's important that they get that. I do also believe that they work in tandem with each other, and one sort of influences the other. I like to think of technology integration, though, as creation, as being able to, okay, we have this particular piece of technology, but then what are we going to do with it? And there are many different technologies, if you will, that I could use to accomplish the same purpose. So I think about, well, which one of them is most appropriate for use based on a given idea or a given task? And I believe that it's important to understand that, yes, though they do work together, they are very, very different. And integration brings to my mind the word purpose. What is the purpose for this particular tool, and what can this tool enable us to accomplish? So while they are very, very much so connected, I do believe that they are very, very different.
All right. Thank you, Dean. And what about you, Rochelle?
Wow, that's hard to follow, those four. I'm listening to, you can hear me okay, right?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay. Yeah, I'm listening to each person talk. When Bonnie was speaking, I'm thinking yes, and then Zed, and then Leslie, and then Dean, and I kept changing my mind, it seems, but I look at it differently, but kind of all the same as all of you too. But I think of it sometimes like using tech, like everybody starts with just using the tool in the classroom. And I think the more fluid you become with it and comfortable with it on your own, then it moves you more towards the integration. And I think part of that can be, like Leslie said, you use it just for the sake of using it. Sometimes I totally agree with that. Like, why not get students engaged more if you have found this great tool that's going to elevate that interest, they're going to get excited for learning, or if you find something that they can create a project with, and there's hundreds of other ways that you can do it, but you have this one new tool, maybe you just want to try it out, see if it works, and then you find out, okay, what's the greatest? But I think part of the integration is being able to kind of like on the fly, a tool that you can bring into the classroom, and it's just like, I don't want to say seamless, because you might have some bumps and things that you come across the road, but the more that you get comfortable with it and that you try to bring it into your learning environment, and like Dean said, the purpose, like always starting with a why, sometimes I think the more that you get practice with it, even if you're just using a tool for the sake of using it, you get more comfortable, and that moves you, even sometimes without knowing it, towards integration. if any of that made sense.
Yeah, that made total sense. That made total sense. So absolutely. Okay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So very thoughtful answers for question one. So now we're going to shift gears a little bit to question two, and we're going to think of like a specific example of technology integration in the classroom. Like what was so successful about it? What were the components that that you saw as a way to transform learning? So would anyone like to jump in on this one and take a stab at it? All right, Bonnie, I see you unmuted yourself.
I'm always ready.
Yes, I love it.
Something successful. I actually did it over, I guess we had some snow days. I feel like it didn't snow last year at all, but I remember in our county we were off for a few days, and it was that time of year where everyone's like, oh my gosh, the big test is coming up. You know, we have to hit the review, we have to do this, we have to do that. My students had gotten very into their own YouTube channels and Musically, and making videos with Roblox and Minecraft. One of the things I needed to hit a little more was area and perimeter. So I approached some of the students. I messaged them while we were on snow days, or I don't know, whatever it was we were off for. And I said, hey, I've seen your Roblox videos. What if you could use that to explain to one of your classmates, one of your friends, how to find area, how to find perimeter? And the student was like, I don't know how to do that. What do I do? And I was like, you know what? I don't really know how to do that either. I have no idea. I've never played Roblox. I've tinkered in Minecraft so that I know what you guys are talking about, but I don't know how you would take that and make it into a video. Go figure it out. You know what? They did. And the videos were amazing, way better than anything I expected. I kept sending them out to my student teachers, like, look what I just got. Look how good this is. They were teaching the material using these tools that were so engaging to their friends, way better than I could have done. It was a lot more interesting than listening to Mrs. Razzler up front talk about formulas, and there was no way I could have gotten that type of engagement. Sorry, my dog. Up in front of the classroom. But when it's one of their students with a game that they like on a video, and they all got into like my videos, subscribe, and they rocked area and perimeter. So then I pulled that in for a few more things too. But I think as teachers, we also have to be, we don't have to be 100% comfortable with what we're asking students to do. I don't have all the answers. And I think that's really a hallmark of 21st century teaching, is that we don't have all the answers. We have resources that we can go to. You can Google anything. But you know what? You go Google that. You find out what to do. I don't know how to make a video. Go find out. So, going back to my answer for the first question, not only are they getting the curriculum standards that I need to meet, which is the area perimeter, but look how many other mini lessons they figured out. What makes a YouTube video engaging? How do you share it? How do you make the video in the first place? The strategies for teaching that came out incredibly successful. And they send me videos now, even over the summer, and I'm so impressed with what they can do. They're eons and eons ahead of me.
I totally hear you on that. And I love the fact that, letting the students do things, even if we don't know. So learning with the students, that is just a super powerful thing. So great.
And
so
it's scary, but they're much more comfortable with these things than we are. So trust them. You want to guide them. Of course, you want to make sure everything stays appropriate, but they can do a lot more than we think that they're capable of. This is their experience. This is their world. This is how they're growing up. It's different from us in the 80s. Like the previous speaker was saying, with flip phones, my kids can't imagine that either. They think everything has a touch screen. My 4-year-old's so confused why our TV doesn't do anything when he touches it. It's totally different for them than it was for us.
That is too funny. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So Leslie, what about you?
Okay. I'll be the first to admit, and I'm going to preface this with, I've been out of the classroom a couple of years, so my tech integration versus tech usage may be a little antiquated. I taught 11th grade American Lit, and that was one of our end of course subjects. So we would do a good bit of study island, but periodically I'm like, okay, this is driving me crazy. I know it's driving the kids crazy. So when I got to the point where I was needing to teach logos, ethos, and pathos, I said, how about we do this just a little bit differently? And I would show them, those sappy commercials with we've got these starving children in Africa or these dogs that are being mistreated. And for 29 cents a day, you can save the world. So I had the children come up with their own commercials, and they had to go around the school. They had to write, what their commercial was going to be about. It had to be approved. They had to get props. They had to do everything and then record their videos. They shared them all with me, and we watched them in class and critiqued them. And they were, to them, they realized that just watching a commercial is not just about filling 30 seconds in between TV shows, that somebody is legitimately trying to sell you something. So when they had to go through the process using those three things, it was like, oh, they're trying to get my money. Yeah, they're trying to get your money. And if they have to tug at your heartstrings by telling you that these children are never going to eat if you don't give 19 cents a day, they're going to do whatever. But my kids really got a kick out of it because they got them out of the classroom. They were using technology. They got to see what the other kids were doing. And it also made that real world connection with, that's what a commercial is for. It seriously is not to entertain you. Somebody's trying to sell you a car. They're trying to sell you alcohol. They're trying to get you to do something that you don't want to do. And they will pull out all of the stops to get there. So I think now my kids are probably different consumers than they were prior to that particular activity.
I love that your kids are being critical consumers. That is so important for them to be able to do, especially nowadays where, where everyone is putting out content. So being able to discern that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we're going to go next to Lizette.
Well, for me, my ultimate goal as an ESL teacher is to help my students to achieve proficiency in the four language domains: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And I realize vocabulary for a lot of ELLs could be very challenging. I believe that most of our English language is made up of a variety of vocabulary. And I felt, okay, instead of having the students look up the words that they don't understand, why not have them create a Quizlet where they can create flashcards for them to be able to acquire more words so that they can maybe use those words in their other content area courses, being that biology could sometimes be very hard for them, or history because of the dates could be very hard. But I do believe a lot of those contents are vocabulary dense. And so if the students have that consistent practice, they're able to understand how to use it in their writing, and then ultimately establish their own unique writer's voice. And it also helps them in some cases to learn how to pronounce words. Oftentimes I have students, thankfully I do speak another language, I speak Spanish, but in some cases there are students that I don't speak their native language, and their fear is often like, am I going to say this wrong? I'm like, just go ahead and say it. And I usually say to them, look, it's fine to make a mistake, And I always say to them, look, how do you say it in your native language? Let's try to see some similarities between that and bridge the gap. And I think ultimately using things like Quizlet helps them to learn the vocabulary that they're constantly having to come in contact with in their general education courses. So
I love that. And the creation aspect, like the students creating in order to learn, that is just fantastic. Absolutely. Okay. So I see, Dean, you're unmuted. So I'm gonna go to you and then to Rochelle.
So I teach ELA primarily. And so I think one of the biggest things that I could ever accomplish in ELA is getting kids to understand the importance of being able to see what an author is saying. And even when they write, being able to describe or to include details so that the person reading what they've written can see what they've said. And when I say that, I mean in their minds. There's visual images, that ability to visualize. And so a very, very simple idea, I'm sure I could share many, but using an app called ChatterKid, for example, the students were introduced to poetry, and intertwining their particular writing piece with some sort of visual representation of the theme of that poem. So it could have been a poem about a palm tree. And so ChatterKit gives you the opportunity to go outside, out of the building, with a device, and find a good picture, or take a picture of that palm tree, and bring that palm tree to life. And so that palm tree can tell or recite or state that particular child's poem, and they've recorded their voice intertwined with that visual of a palm tree. And it's really a great way for them to understand the importance or the relevance of being able to write, but being able to visualize, reinforcing that particular concept in the area of ELA. So that's been a really fun example of tech integration that I have done in the past.
Ooh, I love that. I love it. Love it. Love it. All right, fantastic. And let's go to Rochelle.
Okay, so I could add, but the one thing that I'm just going to say, because of listening to what everybody said, and Lizette, I can totally relate to what she was saying with using the Quizlet, because I teach 4 languages, and but pulling together what everybody else said, it's like almost synonymous right now in my mind, the tech integration, when people are integrating tech with the purpose of providing these authentic, meaningful learning possibilities and opportunities for the students, because what everybody has spoken about are ways for students to become the creators or the leaders in the classroom, or to have that practice that's authentic and personal to them. Like Rebecca said with the Quizlet, when students create their own set for words that they need practice with the most, that is not only personal to them and meaningful, and they're creating with something that can add to the resources for the classroom. And then, like in my class, we've done that with tools like Quizzes or Kahoot or Nearpod, and then the students take over the lead, which it's nice. Like Bonnie said, let the kids show you. Get out. I love to say, like, I'm getting out of the way now. And my students will say, you're not in the way. And I say, well, yeah, I am in the way right now, because you can totally take over. And I can just sit back and watch and see what you're doing and learn from you. And I think that whenever we give them those opportunities, and what Dean said as well, with the palm trees, it increases their possibilities for learning so much more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love what you said about students becoming the leaders. That is amazing. All right. So we have one more question. You guys ready? Everybody ready? Just okay. So the final question for tonight is if you have any tips or resources that you may know for educators who want to integrate tech in their practice, like maybe they're new to it, or maybe they've been using it, in ways that have not been with a purpose. So how can someone start using it more purposefully, more relevantly, if that's a word, I don't even know. And what tips would you all have? So Leslie, going to go first to you, and then after that I'm going to go to Rochelle and Dean, and then we'll see who else chimes in on the comments.
My first suggestion, and I know that people say this all the time, get connected, because I used to think that I was doing awesome stuff in my classroom. And then once I got on Twitter and started doing the tweet and talks, it's like, okay, Leslie, you're still in the 18th century. Get connected, because if you don't have an idea on how to do something, I guarantee you that there's somebody out there who does. I maintain a website and a separate blog. And if you're not following other people on blog, and there's generally a list published every so often about all these amazing educators to follow on their blogs and on Twitter, follow those people, because a lot of them will share examples of things that they're doing in their classrooms. And it's very easy for you to replicate those things. They share their examples on Twitter. Follow a hashtag, get on Voxer, the EduMatch Voxer group. And I'll be honest, I'm in both of them, but I don't think those people ever sleep, because that group is going all the time. So if you don't know what to do, ask. We tell our kids all the time, if you don't know how to do something, ask 3 or ask me. As teachers, we need to do the same thing. Ask somebody else so that you can get some help. And I promise you that the educators I've come across, they are absolutely the most giving people I have ever seen in my life. So please just ask, follow us on Twitter, because I think all of us are pretty active, except I'll be the first to admit, when I got home from ISTE, I did have to disengage because I did not take my own advice and I overextended myself. But please just ask somebody and we'll be glad to help you. So just reach out and touch someone. I think that was a song back in the 70s. And I'm aging myself now, but reach out and touch. We'll take care of you.
I love that. I love the reaching out and touching someone. And thank you for the shout outs for the EduMatch Boxer group. And also, just in case anyone doesn't know, if you're looking to build your PLN, if you go to edumatch.org and go to databases, hover over that, then you'll see awesome table of EduMatchers, and you can filter there by location, by interest, all different kinds of things. You can even search people's bios and stuff, and you can build a network of people you want to learn different things from. So another thing, just wanted to throw in the mix. Cool. So going next to Rochelle. Whoops, I think we lost Rochelle. So, wait, is Rochelle there? Okay, we're going to cut this part out of the final one, so don't worry about that. All right, we're going to go next to Dean.
Okay, so Leslie, again, thank you for your comments. I agree wholeheartedly. It's so good to be connected because you can, again, find something really, really easily, and the EduMatch group is a perfect place to do that. I will say, I caution, I think it's important to always do what you do and be relevant. And I could easily say, well, let's go to this particular place and we can find this bank of ways to integrate technology into your classroom. But I always fall back on the idea that it needs to be relevant to your students in that classroom that very year, and what their needs are. And so it all goes back to what I mentioned earlier about purpose. For me, what is the reason why we want to integrate this technology into the classroom? And what is it that we ultimately want students to get out of this? Is it that we want them to be creators of knowledge or content? Do we want them to actually be able to code when they come out of our classrooms? So I think it's important to identify that purpose, and then based on that, okay, what can we use? How can we use it in order to move towards that goal or that purpose for integration into our classrooms? And that's not necessarily a bank, and there's nothing wrong with that bank, but even with that bank, I think it's important to consider the purpose always. Purpose always, because if you consider the purpose and you consider the environment in which you teach, then you can make sure that what you're doing is targeting the needs of the current group of students that you have at that particular time. Hope that made sense.
Absolutely. Love it. Start with the why. So that is awesome. Great. So we're going next to Lizette.
I wholeheartedly agree with what Dean said. There has to be a purpose for the things that we do, because not everything is needed for each group of students, and not one size always fits all. So ultimately, my tidbit or last 2 cents that I would offer is that, just test things out through trial and error. It's okay if you're not an expert at using some of those tools. Because you learn through trial and error. You may be that person that like it was mentioned earlier by Bonnie, that you may not know how to use this tool for whatever reason, but be sure that the students are able to ultimately try things out differently than you're normally used to. So I think that that's important. I also believe that data can often help us understand what are some tools that would be effective. So it goes back to that purpose. Having data be that driving force would help us to know exactly what tools will be more effective as well. But again, ask someone, try things out through trial and error, and by all means, look at data first and foremost to understand why you're using some of the things that are being used. So.
Absolutely. So that is great. So looking at the data and not being afraid to try things out. Love it. So going to Bonnie, and then after that, Leslie.
So I think that when we're thinking of planning ways to integrate technology, we really need to look at what is our outcome? What learning outcome are we going? What is the main thing that you want your students to learn? Then you need to look at your students' ability, their interests, and that's where you can really, Lizette, at the beginning, you talked about differentiation, and that's really one of the strengths of technology integration, is that there's so many different ways that students can access information. You can really hit those learning styles. So if you have the outcome in mind as you plan, and then piggybacking off of what the others said, just be brave. It can be so scary to jump in with something new. You're going to make mistakes, and just say to your students, oh, I don't know, this one didn't work out. I've had a horrible experience with tablets. And I told my students, like, okay, yeah, I don't know. I need to do some more work with this. Maybe you guys can help me. You're going to mess up, and that's okay. I really think it's important for students to know that we're human. We make mistakes too. They make mistakes. That's okay too. But just be brave as you stick your toe in if you're just kind of getting started, or if you're really ready to expand what you can do in your classroom. It's okay. You're going to make mistakes. Things aren't always going to go. Your projector bulb is going to go out. Your laptop is going to die. Some app is going to need some special permission that you weren't ready for. That's okay. Just be flexible. Roll with it. Kids can do a lot more than we give them credit for. They got this. We got this too.
Absolutely. We all got this. We're working this together. So awesome. All right. And Leslie, what about you?
Okay, I just have one more thing to add, and I don't know how I forgot this, but considering I am a tech coach, if you have access to a tech coach, there are two in my district. We are always willing to go in and co-teach a lesson or model a lesson for teachers. So if there's a tool that you're not sure how to use or you want to learn how to use it, reach out to your tech coach and say, hey, can you come show me how? And then perhaps stay and teach it with me, with my students. That way there are two people in there helping the students. Don't tell my boss that I forgot that I suggest that we co-teach, but that is something that we offer. And if anybody else's district does as well, because we don't mind going into classes and sometimes we forget what it's like and we do miss the interaction with the students, but ask, because that's what tech coaches are here for. And that's to help you to do effective technology integration into your classroom. So that's my little 2 cents about what we're really supposed to do.
All right. Love it. Absolutely. So definitely learning with colleagues is a very powerful tool as well. So taking full advantage of all of the resources at your disposal. So awesome. Well, I want to thank all of you. Like, this has been an amazing discussion. Twitter was fire. YouTube Live was fire. Just the comments coming from everywhere. You all were fire. So this was just on fire, for lack of a better term. It was on fire. You guys are burning up, turning up the heat, all that good stuff. All right. I'm going to stop with the puns and everything. But anyway, just wanted to thank everyone for watching and for interacting with us. Remember that we do have the Flipgrid. So going to actually drop the link one more time on Twitter as well as on the YouTube Live. So just boop, boop. So there we go. #EduMatch. So that is on the Twitters. And right here, we now have it on the YouTube Live. So definitely chime in with your responses. And the Twitter archive will be put out in about 5 minutes or so. So stay tuned for that. We're going to put it out on Twitter and on Facebook. In addition, this conversation will be available as a podcast. So you can just check in the next few weeks on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast, Google Play, all those great places. So come back in less than an hour now, about 23 minutes. We're doing a back-to-back one. We're doing authors part 2. So we're going to have a lot of great authors on a panel and picking their brains. If you ever want to be on EduMatch, then anyone can be a panelist as long as you're an educator and you have an interest in the topic. So you can sign up at podcast.edumatch.org/sign up, or go to our website, edumatch.org, and then just hover over the podcast and click on where it says sign up. Or you can just be part of our Slack channel, where we are starting to drop the links, and you can just click on that and just make sure that you go back and fill out the form afterwards. So with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and stop broadcasting at this time, stop streaming, but everyone have a wonderful, wonderful night.